guys, welcome to the Wentworth CM Club podcast. This is your host, Chase K. Cook, along with co-host Adam. And today we have Chris Chany. He is an account executive for Swinerton and a Wentworth alumni from the civil engineering program. So Chris, I was going to ask, what does an account executive do at Swinerton, and what's your favorite part about your job there?
Yeah, so I actually have a pretty unique role within Swinerton, who's a large national general contractor. We have 20 offices across the country. And my role is I'm part of our corporate services group, which basically manages 100 master service agreements with large corporate clients. So I'm tasked with managing roughly 20 out of those 100 accounts. And my role is basically the single point of contact for those clients nationally. So I make sure that the client has the same experience from pre-construction to close out, regardless of location. So if a client's building with us in Atlanta, Georgia, Austin, Texas, San Diego, and Seattle, the experience from pre-construction to close out is the same. And that's basically my role, to make sure our teams are prepared to hit the ground running, have the right resources, and deliver on what the client expects and has come to know with Swinerton.
So what do you mean by like experience?
So experience, would be making sure that when we put together a bid book, it looks and feels the same regardless of region. And the way Swinerton is set up is we don't have traveling teams that would basically follow a client all over the country. We rely on our local teams in whichever geography that client's doing work. So it's basically making sure that the submittal process, the RFI process, the billing process, the contractual terms are all met across all of our geographies.
Okay, so that's like a little different than like a project exec.
A project executive would be involved on every single one of those projects, but that project executive would be a local resource that assists with that division's aspect of the business.
Okay, cool. That's cool. I don't think I've heard of your position, but I like that.
It's a pretty unique role. We deal with a lot of cool clients.
It's definitely a smart move.
Yeah, the top three that I manage are Facebook, Apple, and Microsoft.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it's we build some really cool spaces for some really cool clients.
Totally. So it's like kind of like client services and keeping like account of paperwork and RFIs, and you keep them organized and making sure everything's like on time and the budget, like start to finish, very consistent.
Exactly.
So that's an interesting thing to hear.
Making sure, every client has their milestones on a schedule. So making sure that when we're building a schedule, it is exactly what that client's looking for. We also do lessons learned after every project. Just that way we have an experience gain and we can just keep getting better and better and better on each project. And then I also create and maintain playbooks that I can take and develop those with the help of the client, that I can take and give to a project team as they are starting to get involved on a project. And that playbook will take them through everything. It's basically a huge knowledge dump from all of our past experiences.
Wow. Yeah. So I was kind of looking on LinkedIn, and did Swinerton originally begin in the Bay Area of California, like San Francisco? And I think
so Swinerton, yes. Yeah. So Swinerton is based out of San Francisco. The company started in 1888.
Wow.
We actually have California license number 92. And I think now they're up to the 30,000s. So that's kind of a cool to have number 92 as a general. And since 1888, we've been through two world wars. Back when construction was happening in 1888, there was horse and buggy mainly. So it's crazy for a company to have been around that long, in my opinion, as a general, and we've been through a lot. So we have a lot of history for sure.
So I was telling my dad that I was interviewing you because, like first guest from California, and my dad has a client who's just kind of like general contractor to stuff with like plumbing and restaurants and all that. And he asked him about Swinerton and said you guys were working on a huge like commercial project in Costa Mesa, and they see the trucks with the two guys and the blue logo everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, our orange trucks that are
Right,
that are
that's what
ugly.
it was.
Yeah. I think you also asked Chase about what do I enjoy the most. I would say, as a general contractor doing $5 billion a year in revenue, it is hard when you're across 20 offices and doing that much work and that big of a general to maintain a culture. But I will say that Swinerton has done a great job of maintaining a culture that truly values its people. There's some other general contractors that are that size, that I don't think value their people as much, and kind of treat their folks as a number instead of an asset. So I would say it's the people and it's the culture that Swinerton has created.
So how many people work for Swinerton?
So we are right now around 4,000 folks
Yeah, so
salary.
that's definitely got to be tough to like keep that culture, like you were saying, and keep that feel that you guys want.
Yeah,
Especially for 4,000 people.
Yeah, and I'll say, pre-pandemic, my role, I had a lot of traveling. I would travel to our offices. I was usually on a plane every week, and being based in San Diego, San Diego, our office has its culture. But then I would fly to Seattle, and you'd walk into the office, and it's the exact same culture. And then you fly to Atlanta, it's the exact same culture. It's just it's crazy how we've been able to maintain that with such a far national reach.
That's awesome. That's something you don't see typically, which I don't think is a great thing. Like I work for a small company, and we almost lose that culture sometimes, but
Yeah.
keep that going over 4,000 with is it just the 3 locations or is it more?
Oh no, it's we have 20 locations nationally.
Oh, okay. Over 20 locations.
Yeah.
That's got to be crazy hard. So that really speaks to like the character you guys look for and bring to the table.
Yeah, it's we definitely, personality and fit is huge, and also we're an ESOP too, which is tremendous, which allows folks to that's a employee share ownership program, but it basically means that everyone is an owner basically of the company, and depending on how the company does every year, it affects your ESOP in either a positive or negative way. Fortunately, we haven't seen it go in a negative way for a decade now, so that's good. But yeah, the ESOP part. Funny enough, I actually looked at the legal letter today. That was dated 1980, and that's when we decided to go ESOP, which is awesome. It was cool. It was from the CEO at that time writing about how we've been so successful for so many decades that we need to give back to our employees, and that's what sparked the ESOP program at Swinerton. So kind of a cool letter to look at. You could tell it was written by a typewriter. So it's crazy.
So you said it's employee share sorry, what was
ownership program? Employee share ownership program.
Okay. So I can see how that would work on like a lot more easily with a smaller company. So how does that like scale up?
So it's basically at the end of every year we evaluate where our fees are at, And obviously you have to cut some of that fees to overhead and just maintaining the company. But a big chunk of that, I think 52% of our fees this year went back to employee shares that just keep vesting over time. So when you retire, you leave with those shares and cash out over a set time period. So put that into perspective. Actually, we had 2 years ago, we had a gentleman that came up through pipe fitting, got hired on by Swinerton, and he retired with Swinerton from Swinerton. I forget how long he was with Swinerton, but he retired from Swinerton with, I've heard, over $4 million, which is cool.
Yes, that's yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And I don't have it with me, and but we could, Chase, if you do come down to San Diego, I could show it to you, but it's basically what we should show new hires of the wealth you can create. The salary is great, but when you look at the overall picture of wealth and what you can leave from Swinerton with after a career there, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Retirement can be, very stressful for many adults, and that's, a great way to get started with your career and start saving. Yeah. So Swinerton originated on the West Coast and now expanded on the East Coast. How has that process been? And how has COVID, the pandemic, since last year, affected the process?
Yeah. So it's been, we were very West Coast based for quite some time. And then we went east to Denver. And then from Denver, we went down to Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Charlotte, Raleigh. And in June of this year, we will actually be open for business in New York City. And then far west, even further west in California, we have an office in Hawaii. And then obviously, like you said, we're up and down the West Coast. The pandemic, I will say, has been challenging, because like I said, we did have a lot of folks that would, regional managers and our executive board would often be visiting offices for strategic meetings. But honestly, we've managed to get through on virtual meetings, a lot of them, as we're all
The new normal.
That's here, yeah.
Meeting through Zoom and everything.
Yeah. And we actually held our first ever, since 1888, our first ever virtual shareholders meeting last year, which was kind of cool. They set it up like an ESPN Sunday game day setup, and it was very cool.
Yeah, so switching to virtual over the past couple of years, was obviously very weird for everybody, but going from 1888 till 2019 with everything in person, everything personal like that must have been a really weird wrench for you guys.
Yeah, it we have business technology solutions that's always constantly looking at the newest construction technology and how we can innovate and be more efficient in our process of what we do, being builders. So we actually had a lot of technology that we were utilizing prior to the pandemic that have helped greatly, in the fact that, we were used to having job site walks with owners, architects, even inspectors of the local jurisdiction walking the job. And with that pandemic, a lot of those folks were not allowed to come to the job site due to local orders or company policies that were put in place. So we actually, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Matterport, but it's basically a camera that we can set up on the job site. It does a 360 scan, and then you have all these points, and it takes all these images, puts them all together, and you basically have a walkthrough of the job site at your fingertips. So we were actually doing that. We had been doing that before the pandemic, and we were doing it monthly or at major milestones and projects. But we realized, wow, we have this technology. There's folks that need to come and see this job site or are wanting to see how this job site's progressing. So we started doing these Matterports weekly and sending them out with a link, and the clients, the architects. I mean, we were doing site walks with the architects and asking questions utilizing this technology. And also we're utilizing FaceTime off of our phones for local inspectors to come out and do in-wall electrical inspections, framing inspections. So it's been, I will give everyone kudos throughout this entire pandemic in this industry of being extremely flexible. We thought we were flexible prior to the pandemic, but everyone just adapted big time and kept work going. So we've finished some of our most challenging and exciting projects through the pandemic, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I've never heard of Matterport before, and I never knew that type of technology even existed, which is super cool. And then like another thing in the construction industry, you're always learning something every day. So, that's just an example. And I remember seeing this other device somewhere where you can put it on a site and it can help detect like floods or leaks or anything like that happening on the site if you're not on the site. So
Yeah.
interesting to see how that expands.
Yeah, I don't have any personal experience with that device. One thing that we did have was Spot the robot dog. So I don't know if you guys have seen that too, but it's basically this robotic dog. I forget the company that makes it. They loaned it to us as a test.
Maybe.
I'm sorry?
Is it Viega maybe? I've seen
I feel like
Viega.
it might be Boston Dynamics.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that. But basically this dog, it was actually on one of my Facebook projects in Austin, Texas. This dog at night, it would rest during the day, and I'm calling it a dog. It's a robot, but it looks like a dog. And it would rest during the day, charge up. Then as the job site closed, this robot would get up and walk the floors to check progress, so we could see real time. So he would go, and let's say we know we were supposed to hang 40 linear feet of ductwork that day. This dog would walk during the middle of the night while the job's empty, scan all of the progress throughout the day and go, you actually installed 60 linear feet of ductwork today, so you guys are ahead of schedule on level 7. And then level 8, it actually can climb stairs. It goes up to 8, and it goes, you guys are behind 20 linear feet on level 8. It's cool.
Wow. So
Cool.
the field guys can't get away with anything then, huh?
Yeah, it's a little too much, but it's cool. I mean, it's I will say that business technology side is they've got some really cool stuff brewing.
Yeah, I think I've heard of Matterport, but I don't think I've heard of companies using it. It was more just like for tours and stuff that I've seen.
Yeah.
But like I think this is the most I've talked about and like heard the business technology actually like being implemented in a company, and it's like it's crazy. Like I wouldn't have thought it would have put you guys like that far ahead. Like it would have. It sounds like a huge boost.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And as soon as the client sees it, they're like, oh man, we need this on every project. It's great. And you know what the cool thing about Matterport is too is besides the progress walks, like I said, prior to the pandemic, we were still doing it through the pandemic, but we were utilizing Matterport like right before we close walk, and then basically you have a living document, right? We have the as-builts on the drawings, but you also have a video of, oh, okay, hey, what's in this wall? What's behind this wall? And you could go back to that Matterport and go, oh, you know what? There's a plumbing riser behind that wall. We can't move this wall. There's no reason. For future, it helped out with being a complement to our as-built drawings.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah. So you said you grew up in New York, so you came basically from East Coast to West Coast.
Correct.
Did you see a difference in how construction was done, or like difference in materials because of weather and environmental conditions?
So I did construction in New York City for 7 years, right after graduating from Wentworth. And from there I went to Austin, Texas. So and then I did construction in Austin, Texas for 7 years. I will say that was a major change in a city that basically has a huge union presence uh, in the construction industry, to a city that has zero union presence. That was a big eye opener to myself, which did lead to there's quality and some scheduling. I will say New York City construction is definitely very fast paced compared to what I was experiencing in Austin, Texas, and now moving West Coast. Just the seismic and the amount of inspections on the West Coast is not something that I saw in Texas or in New York City.
Yeah, California's definitely due for an earthquake.
The seismic is yeah, it's a constant deal. We're constantly, one of our big things too is we go in and do seismic retrofits on existing buildings, which I can't really, I don't do it, but we have a whole group that just focuses on that.
Yeah, and with Texas experiencing the super cold weather and the snow, like it's kind of sad what's happening to some infrastructure and buildings. So yeah, we're looking like at possibly talking to someone in the future about seeing how the weather impacted the buildings and what they're gonna do in the future.
Yeah, it's I can shine a little bit of a light on that. It'll be interesting to watch how design standards, or if design standards change based after that winter event. But I do know there was a lot of buildings and infrastructure that failed. We were seeing sprinkler mains freezing, breaking, and flooding out whole buildings. There's one of our clients that was in a multi-tenant building that was 8 stories, and a sprinkler main broke on the 8th floor and flooded out the entire building. Yeah. So water at that building ran out of that sprinkler line over 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. So yeah, we're all watching. I know some projects that we had currently going there. They're rethinking on the mechanical side and plumbing side for design. So it'll be interesting to see if the code changes.
Yeah, Adam and I are taking building systems this semester, so it's just about plumbing, fire protection, HVAC, and electrical. We're going over those systems. And in the fire protection unit, there's something about like these dry pipes or something. And the professor was like, why do you think those would be dry? And I'm like, I don't know. And then he was like, because pipes can freeze. And I'm like, what? Like just like things freezing. It just didn't sound familiar to me.
Yeah.
That's completely wild to me, because like that's the first thing that came to my head. Like oh, the pipes will freeze. But like where Chase has been in California her whole life, she's like, pipes don't freeze.
I didn't even know you had to like shovel snow at 5 a.m. like your driveway and stuff.
Oh, it's the worst.
I do not miss scraping ice off my car window at 5 a.m. in the Northeast. Definitely do not. So.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, today was like the first spring day we've had in a long time, and it was so nice. It's so nice.
T-shirts and shorts, right?
Yeah, I got my T-shirt on right here.
I love it. Meanwhile, I have a sweater on. It's like 60 out here.
Under 70 like hoodies in California. Yeah, my parents are from Michigan or Minnesota and Michigan, and they definitely don't miss the cold weather and like, you know, freezing on the bus and like eyelashes freezing and opening the door and there's like big pile of snow.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
It's crazy.
They took a trip out to La Jolla, I think, when they're in college, and they're like, we're moving here.
I feel like that's what everyone does. If they're not from California and they come and go to school here, they don't go home. So
Yeah.
We do have our sunshine tax, though. It's not cheap to live here.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, I will say that.
That's why I moved from Orange County to Marietta, basically. Definitely a big factor.
So, Chris, what's like one of like the coolest projects you've worked on?
What's one of the coolest projects recently that I worked on was, I would say, we got approached by this client, new client to us, got approached by this client June of last year. So in the pandemic, and they said, hey, they are a COVID test manufacturing company. They said, hey, we need to be manufacturing 1 million test kits by July 4th of this year. Keep in mind, they approached us June, right? So that's 4 weeks. And in order to do this manufacturing, they needed 3 ISO 10 clean rooms, which that's a hefty lift to do in a 3-month, 4-month time schedule, and they wanted to do it in a month. We looked at it, got a lot of our subject matter experts involved, and we were able to successfully finish that project. We actually finished it in 3 weeks, so we got it open prior to their due date and when they needed to start making these test kits. And their initial projected run was going to be 1 million kits a week. I actually talked to them at the end of, it was December of 2020, and they were making a close to 10 million kits a week out of that facility. So it was we were working 24/7, but we got it open, and it's a cool story to tell that we were involved in building the facility that made a bunch of test kits. So very cool.
Totally. Is that facility in the San Diego area?
It is.
That's awesome.
It
And
is.
that's great to hear that that manufacturing facility probably brought a lot of skilled jobs.
Yeah, it did. And it's I just can't believe the numbers that they're pumping out of there on the test kits. Definitely a cool story.
Yeah, especially with the COVID world. It's definitely helping people stay safer.
Yeah, I would say the other, that's a cool story because it's the pandemic and it's helping out the greater good. I'll say the other, probably one of my other favorite projects was building our first Facebook project that Swinerton completed in Austin, Texas. I was actually a project manager on that project, but it was 2 floors in an existing Facebook space that had a kitchen that was going to serve 3,000 employees in the span of an hour, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's a cool looking space, and it's going back there pre-pandemic. It's still one of those jobs you're like, wow, this is cool. This is a really cool looking space, required a lot of effort, and it turned out great.
So kind of switching gears for a second, you graduated Wentworth with a civil degree, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
was like the plan always to get into construction, or did something happen that make you want to shift over?
Yeah, so actually I my freshman year at Wentworth, I was in the architectural program, and then I switched over to civil engineering, and my 2 co-ops were at a general contractor in New York City, and I enjoyed both of those co-ops thoroughly, that I decided that I was going to stay in construction.
Nice. That's what I like to hear from a construction management major. I got some friends in the civil engineering one, so it's nice to hear that we got some people coming over to our side.
Yeah, it's a lot of my buddies that went through civil with me are still they're at GC firms.
Really?
Yeah.
So that must be pretty common then, like to see like other disciplines coming into the construction field, like.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was talking with a few of your folks a few of the Wentworth board folks 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about co-op opportunities, and they asked the question on, are you looking just for construction focused majors? And I said, honestly, we're looking for personality and talent and people that are willing to learn the industry. I could care less if they were architectural, English major, history major, or a construction management major. So yeah, it's like I said, I think that's what makes Swinerton unique is we hire for the people.
Definitely. I've also seen a lot of architect and civil engineering, construction management majors all, like blend together at the end because, just the common interest in project management and that passion. It's just like very hands-on and it's, team based.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other is it what else we could chat about.
Is anything you want to know about us? Anything you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, that you know what? It'd be interesting to hear what has been your favorite course or class
Oh
at
yeah.
Wentworth and why.
Okay, so my favorite course was definitely the building construction lab because it was very hands-on and you would get like all suited up in your, neon vest and hard hat and glasses and you would work with your team and in that case some of my best friends were part of my team and we made like mini CMU cavity walls and wood frame and put it all up together at the end. I just really liked how hands-on it was and like just like getting like dirty on the job. And like I never really had construction exposure before, so it was just a lot of fun to do that.
That's great.
Yeah, so definitely want to do something on site in the future. That's what I learned from that.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that I think when you first get into the industry, get out on the job site as much as you can. That is where you will learn the most. And even if you're not wanting to go down a superintendent career path, being out there day to day and seeing what the superintendent and the assistant superintendent and all the foremen and all the trades are going through when you're sitting in the office, fast forward a few years, you it's good to know what's going on out there. It'll allow you to be at the right mindset and have the right communication skills to that team that's out there.
Yeah,
That's not an easy job out there in the field.
Definitely.
Those guys work a lot of hours and it's exhausting and the stress is definitely out there. So if you can support that from the office, you are on the right path. Sorry, Adam, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I completely agree with you with the field thing. My boss told me like the best project exec was the best PM, the best PM was the best APM. That was the best super, and like that was the best carpenter, and he was the best laborer. So definitely, it shows how much like just being in the field and like seeing everything go down really really benefits you in the long run. So I completely agree with you. I was working labor all summer at a couple different sites, but I was told I was going to be an assistant super for a little bit, and I got a couple weeks in there, but they kept on needing me for labor, so I just kept on going back.
Nice.
Yeah, but to answer your question from earlier, I think my favorite class was we had a building a building drawing system a building drawings class, which was a mixture between Revit and like physical design reading.
Construction graphics.
Yeah, construction graphics. And I wouldn't want to do that every day for my whole life, but like being able to look through a set of plans and like know exactly where something is and know where to look and how it's supposed to look in real life, like in 3D, it's definitely sort of satisfying to know how to do that.
That's great to hear. We are seeing so many more projects. I'd say over the last 2 or 3 years, going through that VD&C, we call it the virtual design and construction process of basically fully coordinated 3D models that even in my interactions with clients, some of them were hesitant at the front, going, no, it's going to take too much time at the beginning of the job to get that model to 100% signed off and 100% coordinated. But the amount of time you save on site when material starts to show up and you're not having to write field RFIs on the spot because you have a clash issue, it saves an insane amount of time and allows for so much more production to happen on site. And also, you're not, ductwork sometimes gets fabbed up, materials get brought up to a floor, and then you realize you have a clash. So then you got to bring that ductwork back down, either rework it or recycle it. Where if you have a fully modeled set of MEP drawings, every piece of material that hits the job is going to go and get installed, which is cool.
That's really cool to me because I like being able to look at the plans and know where it's supposed to go, but like to look at the plans and then model it so like that, like that's where it's going, like 100% without any like you don't have to rely on your brain to make sure it's right. Like that's just like the whole next step, and like that I think that's a really cool part about Swinerton, like that you guys can bring that aspect into it and like really elevate the production and like efficiency. Even like it might, even if it is a little front heavy, getting all that modeled and all that ready, but like you said, long run, miles ahead.
It pays off. Even myself, I was skeptical on the first job that we wanted to model. I was like, it doesn't. I don't think we have it in the schedule, and it did take a little bit more time up front, but we saved a lot of time once we got into production mode. The other cool thing about that modeling, Adam, is that especially with some of my clients, you're dealing with end users that their skill set is not looking at drawings and being able to understand drawings and what that'll look like in the real world. So when you can 3D model it and then fly them through the model, they can very easily go, oh wait, this conference room is too small. I need it to be able to fit 6 more people. I'd rather have them catch it there than when the walls are framed up and then we have to move everything, because that's time and money.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even really think about that part. Like the client experience must be completely different. Like being able, like you said, being able to not physically walk through it, but like walk through and make sure everything is like how they want it to be before they even break ground on it.
Yeah.
Like you just said, like that's time and money right there. That's and overall satisfaction with your customers, like keeping them coming back and making sure they have a good experience. Like you've said this whole podcast with the culture.
You took the last little blurb out of my mouth right there, Adam. I was going to say it also leads to a happy client, so that's good. You're already on the right path, Adam.
Thank you.
The same thing with technology and like building construction also applies to estimating with the Bluebeam software. So that was probably my first or second favorite class, construction estimating. I liked using Bluebeam. It was like really, like, it's easy to use, but I like the challenging aspect of like preparing QTOs through Bluebeam. We had to do these like 40 concrete beams and I had to measure all the rebar on there, and I was able to organize it all and then convert it to a CSV file right in Excel, just plug in the equations and there's a QTO good to go.
That's cool. I did estimating for maybe 4 months, and it is not my cup of tea, but there's those that enjoy it, they do a great job at it for sure.
For sure, it's definitely not easy, but like preparing a good bid and an accurate estimate is like critical in a project to execute it smoothly.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. If the job's not set up right and doesn't have the right budget, or it wasn't thought through at a pre-con estimating standpoint, it usually ends up being a pretty tough and challenging project.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off, Adam.
No, I was gonna say I agree with him. Like estimating is definitely very good to know, so you know what you're missing or you know what you need to look for. But like, I could not do it for a lifetime. much less.
They always get blamed. They get blamed for everything too.
Office setting.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're definitely right. The estimators definitely get the short end of the stick, no matter what.
Yeah, everyone blames everything on the estimator. Wrong number, wrong stub. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I don't want to count light fixtures on a drawing for sure.
No. But I mean, honestly, like you said, it might be a little easier if like moving it from drawings to like physical, like the walkthrough programs.
Yeah.
Like, but that's a big ask of the client to get someone to do that for them.
Yeah, there is some software that you can take. I don't know where we're at with this, but there is software you can take that from that 3D model. It'll actually generate a cost report based off linear feet or light fixture counts or flooring type. It's cool. Yeah,
that's gotta save at least a week. Like just getting prices and everything.
Yeah,
I think Revit automatically makes schedules too, and I'm sure they can generate other things.
Yeah, the technology is it's crazy. We still, even with that cost analysis that you would pull out of a model, it's nice to have to shore up and make sure that our estimating group, it's nice. It's a checks and balances basically.
Yeah, and technology is moving more from servers to clouds, so like less servers crashing and not as much worry for backup systems. Basically, I kind of went into that maybe like a month ago. We did a tech talk episode with a IT manager for construction, so we learned a lot about that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
And the softwares they use. So we learned about like Sage and Procore and all that.
Very cool. Yeah, we use CMIC for all of our document management and financial management of a project. So it's very similar to a Procore or a Prolog, and it allows for collaborative usage as well. So you can invite the architect and the owner and the engineer to all be in CMIC, and you can see who's ball in court for an RFI or a submittal is out there. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, just talking about the construction technologies got me excited about it, about the future for it.
And what sorry, can you guys remind, are you guys freshmen, sophomore, junior, senior?
Sophomores. We're
sophomores. Both of us sophomores. I'm straight up construction management, no concentration, and Adam's in the facilities management concentration program. So we're taking like slightly different classes, but like still learning like the core of everything.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and I was excited to hear, talking to some other Wentworth folks, that you guys are, Wentworth always did a great job at teaching the technical skills, but it sounds like now they're adding in some business acumen and just types of helping folks once they get out into the real world to understand the business decisions, not just the construction side of the house, which is good.
I took financial accounting, economics, and then I think there's managing and leading organizations and a couple more business classes. I think those come a little closer to junior, senior year, but I've definitely gotten exposure to, like how economics work and financial accounting.
Yeah, I'm taking my, we only need one extra class for a business management minor, so I'm taking that right now. So it's definitely good to hear that it's worth it. And like in jobs and career wise, because it's definitely more of a drag than my construction courses.
Yeah, but definitely encourage everyone to pay attention in those business classes.
Yeah.
It's nice to go in and know what's happening at a much higher level in the company to ensure that the company keeps growing,
right,
and is stable.
Yeah. I'm loaded on 19 credits right now, and the max is 20. So I'll have to take that more class when I have a lower credit semester.
Yeah, I'm at 20 right now. It's a busy semester.
It's no joke. When you
I always remember going. I remember going home for like Thanksgiving break and then winter break, and talking amongst my friends who went to other schools and universities, and we would compare credits for each semester. And for some reason, I was like always way higher than all of my Wentworth jams them in, which no complaints. They crank out
You're
some great
technical
talent,
from the start.
yeah, it's they'll load you up. So they make it so that when you get to the real world's easy. You're on a vacation. So.
Yeah.
No, that's really good to hear, like coming from someone in the industry. It's definitely encouraging.
Yeah, no, I mean, seriously, Wentworth prepared me greatly for the real world and the construction industry.
Yeah, that's
Can't
amazing.
say enough good things about Wentworth.
I was just about to ask how Wentworth, prepared you.
I do have a quick question. I know Wentworth is like really, really big, like in the Northeast, like East Coast, like it's very, very big, like very well known. How about like as you go across the country, like South, Midwest, and then out west where you guys are?
Yeah, so I will say it's not as well known as the schools that are based here on the West Coast. Even Swinerton, we have a talent committee, and part of that talent committee is college recruiting. So we identified 20 schools throughout the country that we want to recruit talent from. We were already pretty much doing that unofficially, but we've organized it. And when this committee got started up, our president, so number 2 at Swinerton, we started to go through the schools, and he stopped everyone and said, I don't see Wentworth on the list. And every publication I read talks about the talent and how good Wentworth is at creating talent. And he said, we need to add them to the list, and we need to find alumni within Swinerton that can go out there and then talk to Wentworth and get our brand recognition out there. Here I am. We actually have a few Wentworth alum throughout, but that is the story of how Wentworth got onto the recruitment list. And I will say, when you look at that recruitment list, it's very West Coast, Southeast based. The Oval in the Northeast is Wentworth. And when you look at school size, Wentworth is in a bucket of its own. So kudos to Wentworth for making it on that list and making a big splash.
Right. There's definitely regency bias, like around, like obviously Wentworth's going to be big in the Northeast, like Caltech is going to be big out in California, the Southeast, but like that's really cool to hear that like Wentworth is getting recognized nationwide, because I know
yeah
and I know like it's expected to not be as big on the other side of the country, but it's good to know that our name's out there and that we are getting, I guess, recruited a little bit.
No, it's and you know what though, and the folks that do know the school, they're out here on the West Coast. When I say I'm a graduate of Wentworth, people are shocked, because like you said, a lot of people go to Wentworth and I think they stay in that Northeast sector, but it's cool when you find someone outside of the Northeast that's familiar with Wentworth, and they know the school and they know what it's capable of. Chase, you're an outlier in California going to Wentworth, so.
Yeah, funny story. So my dad saw the school first, or found it online, because I was looking at playing college volleyball at the Division III level, and I knew I wanted to take a technical route with my major. So he found that school, and I looked at the volleyball program, and they had a really great record, and I was kind of looking at the majors, and I was like, construction management is probably the one I'd be most interested in. And I emailed the coach, and he was like, hey, construction management here is number 1, number 2 in the country. And and then they mentioned the co-ops. That's what it was. So he's explaining that part, that there's 2 paid semesters. And I was like, wow, that's the icing on the cake with this great program and the athletics and academics balance. So that's kind of like how I came to Wentworth.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say that the exact same. The co-op program sold me, and the amount of the percentage at which students get hired.
Yeah, and the
directly on
alumni
Wentworth.
network is so huge too.
Yeah,
And they're very supportive of the students at Wentworth currently
yeah.
and invested in their careers.
Exactly. I'll say for a smaller scale school, the alumni are very very strong network. Exactly like what you said, Chase.
Definitely. Even in my year, connecting with peers on LinkedIn and everything, just getting started early and supporting each other and, being there in the future.
I'm glad to hear the volleyball team is still has a great record. It was a good record when I was there as well.
Yeah, we went 22-8 my freshman year, and then sadly no season sophomore year.
Bummer.
But the year before I came, we went to the NCAA tournament where the top 64 teams in the country compete for national championship, but sadly lost in the first round, but it was our first run ever there. So
that's awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
22-8 is that's an incredible season. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. A lot of young players too. So it's cool.
So what outside of the class, what do you guys, and outside of the class and outside of the co-op, what's your favorite thing about Wentworth?
The CM program's literally like family. Adam and I stayed connected. Me and my other friends from different states stayed connected even throughout the pandemic, like working together through school and everything. So I just really like the family aspect of the CM program. I feel like it definitely sets itself apart from other majors at other schools. That's
and Adam, before you answered, I'm glad to hear that, because even that when I was in civil, the network was very, very tight. I had pretty much, it was the same group of classmates through each class throughout the day, and then we'd all go and do homework together in the library, and then we go play basketball together, and it was I'm glad to hear that it still is a tight knit. It's not the class ends and everyone goes their separate ways. That's cool
back on campus, we'd go to each other's dorms and do homework. We would get the waffles at midnight at the BD hall.
Oh yeah,
that's the
work
only
out
good.
at the gym together.
The only good food out of BD are the midnight waffles.
So good.
Yeah, I think like Wentworth as a whole would be the community, just because it's all like tight knit. But especially in the CM department, we're both on the e-board. So like
for the CM club. Yep.
Yeah, for the CM club. And like that in itself is very tight. But like the people I go to classes with, and then especially in my facilities management concentration, like there's 20 of us. And like we go through all the same classes, same time, same people for the next 2.5 years. So that's very cool that I get to know everybody that well. And same with the CM classes that I take, because 90% of the time it's people I know and people I get to work with and people I get to hang out with.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it hasn't changed
and
since
like
07, so that's good.
Yeah, and the network is incredible, just how well they set us up for after school.
So are you guys are obviously virtual. What's the what have you found the most challenging being virtual?
I would say probably productivity, because like being in Boston and like in my dorm working really hard, I would be in the library doing homework or other areas, and then in my dorm I would relax because it was like my home. And then that same like principle applied to home when I was there for winter break or spring break. It was very relaxing, not very school. So when the pandemic hit, I'm like, I have to work at home. So it was just kind of like productivity and motivation challenges.
Yeah.
And I think I've definitely been doing better, but it's kind of still a challenge.
Yep. Yeah, I agree that separation between work and like relaxation just isn't there anymore. I have one class in person, so I'm kind of getting back into swing. Like that class I think I'm probably doing best in, next to my facility management course. But like the other ones, it's just kind of, it's like you sit through the Zoom meeting and then you have homework, but like your bed's like right there. So like it's so much easier to be like, oh, I'll lie down for a couple minutes and then do it, and then that turns into 4 hours later and you're like, well, I got another class now.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, the separation, I could see how that's definitely challenging. Even in the beginning stages of the pandemic, when the office was shut down, it was difficult to separate, or even take get up and take a breather for 10 minutes. It's you lose all that. One thing I would encourage you guys to do, if you're not, would be to make sure you keep these meetings, these type of virtual meetings, on camera with your classmates, and keep it collaborative on camera. So you guys are sophomores, so you would be doing co-op next year then.
Yeah, I'm looking at this summer and then spring 2021, which is the mandatory one, and then fall 2022, I think, which is the senior mandatory one. So I'm looking to get 3 in.
Yeah, I'm trying to get 3 also. I technically do. I just need my boss to sign off on the paperwork. Other than
Nice.
that, yeah.
Oh
And I
yeah,
got-
because the
sorry.
co-op requirement, you have to be like supervised and work like 32 to 40 hours per week.
Yeah, yeah.
All those guidelines.
I wish I could work a 40-hour week.
In that program, do you see a lot of students, they do their first co-op and they return immediately back to that company on their second co-op, or?
I've seen a mix of both. Through the CM program, I've definitely heard recommending trying different companies and different positions, like do one in scheduling or estimating, and then do something on site, try different companies. So I kind of think I'm not sure yet. I would definitely want to mix things up.
Yeah, my suggestion would be definitely, if you're going to stay with the same company, which there's nothing wrong with that, I would definitely ask for a different type of role and exposure. And then if you're not going to go same company, I would encourage folks to if you're going GC on your first go around, maybe look at not necessarily a GC assignment on your second one. But yeah, definitely getting exposure to the different elements that goes into the construction industry would be a good call.
You kind of answered our typical closing question. With any advice, any words of the wise to the youth?
Perfect.
Yeah, no,
it's perfect.
It is a challenging industry. However, there's a lot of folks that can provide the service, so it's really about the experience and making sure that you're taking care of the client from day one to close out, and you will be successful in this career.
Awesome.
And you know what, to add to that, it's not just the relationships with the client. You need to develop relationships with your team, the building manager, the architect, the engineer, the subcontractors. All is equals. It takes a team, like you guys talked about earlier in this podcast.
Yep.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for
no worries. I hope you got enough. If not, I can definitely hop on for another 30 minutes at some other time if you want to add something else in or not.
Awesome.
Perfect.
So
yeah, and Chase, if you do want to come down and visit or go to a job walk, let me know. We can get it set up.
Perfect. Yeah.
Adam, if you want to fly out, the invite's open. So.
Awesome. Next time I'm out near San Diego, I'll swing by.
Awesome.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being flexible and moving this too. I know
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Thanks for taking the time to check out our podcast. The Wentworth Construction Management Club is part of Wentworth Institute of Technology, a university in Boston, Massachusetts. We are always looking for new guests. If you are interested in coming on the show, please email us at cmclub@wit.edu. If you are interested in purchasing a 30 or 60-second ad to be broadcast during our show, please email cmclub@wit.edu with your name, contact information, and a description of what you would like to promote. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Just search for WIT CM Club. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the CM Club podcast.